दो देवर जो हैं मेरी आंखों के सामने जिंदा उनको जला दिया गया था, मुंह में पेट्रोल डाल के। उनके पास एक कोई पाउडर था जो दूर से डालते थे, आग लग जाती थी। उनके पास पेट्रोल था, उनके पास गले में डालने के लिए टायर थे। जिंदे लोगों के मुंह में पेट्रोल डाल के गले में टायर डाल के जलाते थे। तो जब वो लोग तड़पते थे ना, तो ये ताली बजा बजा के हंसते थे कि देखो कैसे बांदर नाच रहा है।
हमारे घर में मेरे फादर को मेरी आंखों के सामने जिंदा जलाया गया था। यही बलवान खोखर धोखे से मेरे फादर को कॉम्प्रोमाइज के बहाने में एक्स-एमएलए महेंद्र यादव ये लेके आए थे, और जहां पर इन्होंने मेरे फादर साहब को जला दिया था। और ये सज्जन कुमार को मैंने 2 तारीख को भाषण देते हुए देखा था कि एक भी सरदार बचना नहीं चाहिए, जिन्होंने इंदिरा गांधी को मारा। इन सिखों ने इंदिरा गांधी को मारा है। बहुत कुछ हुआ, उतरा चढ़ा बहुत, तो मेरी तो जिंदगी नरक बन गई है। मेरे ऊपर झूठे केस डाल के मुझे टाटा में फंसाया गया। इवन इन्होंने मेरी मदर को भी नहीं छोड़ा। मेरी मदर भी 3 साल 1 महीने काट के आई है।
लगे रहेंगे, उम्मीद नहीं है कि ये इंसाफ दे सकते हैं।
Hello and welcome to this special presentation. I'm Sanket Upadhyay. The year was 1984. A terrible, terrible tragedy unfolded, killing and injuring thousands. But more importantly, scarring not just the people of the Sikh community, but the whole nation to this day. We are talking about the deadly 1984 Anti-Sikh Riots in the national capital. The victims and their families are fighting their fight for justice to this day. But as we remember and recall those horrifying experiences, this is also the time for the country to look and in fact even provide that healing touch. This enterprising community of Sikhs have devoted themselves in the service of this nation. The nation owes not just gratitude, but respect. And the one way to do that is to ensure that justice is not derailed, because it has already been delayed. And to discuss this, we are joined in by Mr. Vikramjit Singh Sani, Member of Parliament, Chairman of the Sun Foundation and President of WPO, who has been helping victims of 84 riots. Thank you very much, Sani Sahab, for joining us. H.S. Pulka, an eminent lawyer who's leading the legal battle of these riots victims, and you are the key warrior for them. Thank you very much, Pulka Sahab, for joining us.
Thank you.
Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, a prominent journalist and author who has written a prestigious book on 1984 riots. Thank you very much, Nilanjan ji, for joining us in the studio. And we also have Justice S.N. Dhingra, who has dealt with the judicial cases and announced the convictions of the 1984 riot cases. Thank you very much. This is an important discussion as we recall that horrifying experience. At the same time, look for a healing touch and solutions from here on. Let me begin with you, Mr. Sani. Would you like to tell us your views on this big human tragedy?
Yeah, Sanket ji, 1984 riots, I think it was a sheer display of Gothicism, brutality and savagery, very well organized by, I would say, some inhuman barbarians who articulated a carnage in the streets of capital of India and elsewhere in the country. The wounds of that massacre have just never healed. 1st November 1984 horrifies not just the Sikh community, but every sane and civilized individual, every civilized Indian. It was indeed a naked genocide where irrational binaries were created, innocent humans were simply butchered, and the national capital witnessed an orgy of death for few days. I think the first fact-finding committee report which I read when I was student in Punjab, who are the guilty, by the prominent civil society organization, is the best and most relevant ethnographical research document which clearly reveals many uncomfortable truths about the massacre. And this arson is the work of an expert. They were quoting the columns of army battalions from Agra and Meerut were lined up, but even the supreme commander of the army could not call the army. The carnage, according to estimates, it claimed, although they say about 40,000 lives, but figure is almost maybe in lakhs. After the riots, they were reported by People Union for Democratic Rights. There were 4 judicial commissions, Nanavati Commission, Marwa Commission, Ranganath Mishra Commission, 9 committees, 2 SITs, but finally I think truth have been nailed by our Justice Dhingra recently. But it's too late. It's 4 decades now. It's high time for us to collectively think as a nation that principle of justice, as Sanket you said, I think justice has been delayed, so it has been denied. And we should analyze why this genocide happened. Was it a planned to teach a particular community a lesson? What were the reasons? Who were the people responsible? And I would quote Sada Ambalvi's line here. उस कातल को साबित कौन करे जो कत्ल सरे बाजार हुआ, मुजरिम की कौन शिनाख्त करे जब हाकिम उसका यार हुआ. This was the reality.
Correct. Mr. Pulka, you've been tirelessly fighting the cases of 1984 riot victims. Only very recently, in a statement on the 31st of October, you seem to say that this was pre-planned and not spontaneous. Would you like to tell us why you have come to this conclusion? Why do you feel this way?
There are many indications which show that this was planned before attack on Mrs. Gandhi. I mean before 31st October. But I'll point out just 5 of those.
Sure.
Number 1, in 1st November morning, the mobs started killing the Sikhs. On 31st, there were hardly any incident. I'll come to that later. 1st November morning, the mobs were out in every colony of Delhi. They were carrying the list of the houses of the Sikhs. Many people said these were the voter list and they traced the Singh name on that. There are many Jats who have Singh name. There are many Rajput who use Singh name. But no Rajput or Jat having Singh name was attacked. The list of the houses was precise of the Sikh houses. Even Dr. Manmohan Singh's house in Shok Vihar was attacked. It is his son who came forward. He says, my house is, they say, no, in the list it is the house of a Sikh. I mean that a list of the houses of the Sikhs only cannot be made in 1 or 2 days. So this was already prepared, made earlier and kept. Now number 2, everywhere mob was using a highly inflammable powder. When you throw this powder over here, it will catch fire. And there were people who were experts in using. The people like me and you will burn their own arms. So this powder is not available in the market. This was kept and stored earlier. These trained people are not commonly available. They were already trained and kept. Now number 3, everywhere in whole of Delhi, the first attack was on the Gurdwara. Now whenever a violence or a riot start, everywhere one community attacks the other community, a person who is isolated. एक दो लोगों को देखा, means normally attack starts from there, then slowly it goes. And in the normal circumstances, nobody would dare to even go too close to Gurdwara because they have arms, they have swords, there are sevadars over there. So nobody, but here the police went with them and they attacked the Gurdwara. Then you know who was the first Sikh who was attacked in Delhi? Till 4:30, there was not even a single attack in Delhi. When I know the courts were working, I went to my wife's office, they were working, they only closed after 5 o'clock. No attack. The first Sikh attacked President of India and the first Sikh injured was the bodyguard of the President. That is who was escorting the President. So this was a very, very well planned conspiracy, and now many people have said, one retired raw officer have said that when he discussed with his director, he told that if Mrs. Gandhi is attacked, there will be large scale killing of Sikhs in Delhi. And this precisely happened. Mr. Malayakan told even Nanavati Commission that he had got this impression that government of India has a contingent plan. So there are many indications like that which show that it was planned before 31st October, during the lifetime of Mrs. Gandhi, either under her instructions or in any case with her knowledge. So I have asked the Prime Minister to appoint a truth commission. The nation needs to know, and the nation deserves to know, that how this large scale killings, massacre and genocide was planned.
Now, Sanketji, as Fulkaji said, as he said, they were identical rods. You can't have lakhs of iron rods, because spontaneous riot is somebody will have brick, somebody will have stone, somebody will have a wooden. Identical iron rods, identical this white powder, it can't be supplied overnight. The kerosene oil and the people and identification. So it was a pre-planned, and we should raise this issue to declassify all the IB and raw reports.
Sure.
So at least truth must come out.
One more thing which Justice Dhingra will also tell you probably about that. In whole Delhi, in all the police stations, on 1st November, similar wording FIRs were registered. Similar wording, all FIRs. It cannot be a coincidence. It was well planned, under instructions.
Interesting. Nilanjan, you've written quite an exhaustive book and done case studies, and we hear cases being presented over here suggesting that it cannot be a coincidence that all these things are happening spontaneously, and thus, as Mr. Pulka concludes, that this could be pre-planned. What were your experiences while writing that book?
I have two experiences to share.
Yeah.
One is, as you asked, in the course of writing the book, which was basically looking at what happened in Delhi, what happened in Kanpur, what happened in Dhanbad and Bokaro. I traveled to all these places because Delhi was not the only city where there were violence against the Sikhs. Large scale violence also took place in Kanpur, Dhanbad and Bokaro, more than in Dhanbad. Basically my approach was to try and get the personal stories, because these are stories of people whose lives' direction got completely changed because of what happened in 1984. I was trying to become a different kind of journalist, trying to specialize on issues of occupational health hazard, and ended up writing consistently on the issue of religious conflict in India. Primarily because 1980s was already beginning to look as the decade when religion would make an entry into politics, and that is what happened. 1984 was a major warning, but nobody really heeded. Let's not look at it in terms of which party was in government at that time. Point is that the communal augury was allowed to get out. Thereafter, religion became the principal marker of people, and people started disliking, creating prejudice against one another, despite being Indians, but purely on the basis of their religious identity.
Correct.
That is what happened. I think that is something very important. We now got to, you are talking about peace. The only way peace can come in this country is if we actually take a collective decision that we will be Indians first, and then our religious identity comes to the fore.
Correct.
That is something very important.
Correct.
And I think that programs like this would actually send out this message that it is time for us to downgrade our religious and caste identities and bring up our collective identity
Indian
of
identity.
nationhood.
Correct.
Indian
Of
identity,
nationhood.
as you said.
Absolutely. Mr. Sani, if you allow me, because Justice Dhingra is waiting, I wanted to go across to him also. Justice Dhingra, what according to you is the reason, the various SITs, the various commissions, what is your view and your experience?
Initially, the effort was from the very beginning that none of the perpetrators of this violence should be punished. With this goal in mind, the first effort was made when people started crying that there was a political party behind this and this was an organized crime. Then first effort was made to clear the political party. And Justice Ranganath Mishra was appointed as the head of the commission. Here I will like to point out Justice Ranganath Mishra was in line to become Chief Justice. And the history will tell you that whenever a decision is required in a particular manner, they choose a person who is likely to become Chief Justice. At that time, there was no collegium system. So, the Chief Justice would always keep in mind, look, I have to become Chief Justice if I go against the government. There is very likelihood that the government will not make me Chief Justice. So, they appointed Justice Ranganath Mishra as the sole inquiry of commission, and he gave report as expected. He had few workers here and there of Congress were involved, and it was not an organized crime. So this commission was appointed with this motive. Commission proceeded or recorded all its proceeding in camera. No advocate was allowed to cross-examine the witnesses. What witnesses stated before the commission is not known to anybody, and the commission, some of the persons who were representing before the commission, they walked out that we do not want to cooperate with the commission which is predetermined and having prejudices. So the commission gave its report that it was not an organized crime. And commission, instead of giving direction of proceeding against the criminals, gave direction for constitution of committees. Then committees were constituted. Those committees went into the affidavits filed before the commission, and then committees started getting FIRs. Now, it was failure on the part of the government to give semblance of justice, not even justice, semblance of justice to the victims.
Nilanjan, we hear cases being presented over here.
You know, I'll tell you about my experience as a young volunteer for Nagrik Ekta Manch. Every morning around 8:39 we would assemble there where everyone was there. And then I was personally going to this colony called Sultanpuri, where very early it was identified that a large number of people, the poor Sikhs who had been affected in the riots, they not only had suffered, in terms of loss of life, but many of them who were alive had all their property destroyed, most important of it being that they had lost the tools which were required for these daily wage earners. So a special service were conducted to identify that which carpenter required how many tools, locksmiths, everyone was given these tools back by various agencies which were providing resources, all the industrialists. They were bringing in, escorts and other companies were contributing to try to rehabilitate these people. And that is how rehabilitation.
How do we get into this relief and rehabilitation?
When this whole carnage happened, of course, people like General J.S. Arora, they started scholarship. We basically from World Punjabi Organization and Sun Foundation, we started helping them by the marriages of their kith and kin. Especially we had a scheme because the marriage of daughters. And now we are also skilling them. But now, just few months back, I had an interactive meeting with the Tilak Vihar, the people. And I took them to Chief Minister of Delhi, we went to Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi. They have been given like flats, and they were given maybe paltry sum by successive governments, whatever. But that, we can't bring their dear ones back. But the thing is that, for example, the flat which was given to them was 23,000 rupees. They have paid about 3,000 rupees, 20,000 they could not pay, and now the interest is on lakhs. So we have requested these flats were given by DUSAB. We are talking to DUSAB and Delhi government. Delhi government is afraid if they waive them off, how will LG? So I have told them with folded hand, let's not get politics into this. Let's rise above politics and give them these free flats and electricity bill. The areas are, it was committed by Delhi government, and now we're in the process of BCS to waive off their, areas of, so on and so forth. And we have a World Skills Center where in Jail Road, where we are offering the free skill courses to these people. So, in Kanpur also we have started, as I said. So, I think it's our duty as a civil society, as Nilanjan ji have said, that we have to hold their hand, give a healing touch. They haven't got justice, but the least we can do is give them a healing touch, love, affection, give jobs. We have large industrialists or Punjabi industrialists. Let's have our woe that we have to employ 5 or 10 out of they are now maybe third generation. And then we have to hold their hand. We can't bring their past back. Or this will be little balm, you know. So I think that should be the spirit.
Justice Dhingra, judicial point of view also, 38 long years and justice still being delayed.
Immediately the courts would have been moved, proceedings would have been initiated, something would have happened, some justice could have been given to the victims. I am also very sorry to say that even our judiciary failed, and failed to greater extent to at least give justice to the victims and to punish the perpetrators of crime. While police did the obvious to help the criminals, what they did, if one FIR is recorded of one murder in Tilokpuri and later on 100 more murders are reported, they were all clubbed with that FIR. And one single FIR was recorded of 200. This is unknown to law. And you see that you record 200 criminal cases in one FIR and wanted the trial of these 200 cases to be conducted jointly. This is what was happening in almost entire Delhi. If one incident of arson had taken place and FIR is recorded, 100 more incidents of arson, looting, etc. were reported. They were all clubbed into the same FIR. And that way, those FIRs were ultimately given for investigation to one eye. Now, 200 murders or 500 incidents of arson, you are giving investigation to one IO. What he will do? What he did simply, I would say khana purti. And he recorded few witnesses which he considered would report about 1 or 2 places of firing, arson, looting, and he filed challan. Now you have made 200 murders and you are filing challan with recording witnesses of 5 or 10 murders. And you are expecting judiciary to convict person for 200. That was on the part of police. But 200 cases or 150
I think it's a
cases
very important point that Justice Dhingra is making of the lapses collectively at that point in time, because of which many of the victims are suffering to this day. Mr. Sani, I want to come to you.
Yeah. This is what Justice Dhingra has mentioned in his report, which came out before the Supreme Court yesterday.
Yeah.
So I argued before the Supreme Court that this report clearly shows that these trials were sham trials.
Mr. Sani, I want to come to you now.
So what
this has been
what I want to make is that there was no supervision by High Court of these trials. You see, if a trial is not going forward for years together, when I joined Kakadumaku, the trial was pending already for 10 years. And there was not even a word from any High Court that why trial is not proceeding. See, this was happening in almost all cases. And none of the advocates, no bar association, no newspaper, no TV channel had ever pointed out that these trials are not proceeding further, why judiciary is not taking action, why judges are sleeping over it. And one thing more I want to point out is that judiciary was actually helping the accused persons.
Yes.
Yes.
See, if their 200 murders have been reported in one FIR, you are framing charge only of 5 murders. remaining 195 murders, you are not framing charge. When the judge is not framing charge, there was nobody to ask the judge why you have not framed charge. Prosecution could not go to High Court. The government was least interested.
I think
What
these
is
are
this
important
going on?
points that Justice Dhingra is making.
Sir, before the
says
matters, sir, before the cases came to you, in High Court, what was happening? Justice Sachin tried to pass some orders, he was transferred. Cases were taken away from him. After that, Justice Ward, he asked the government that why you are not registering a case against Sajjan Kumar on the basis of this affidavit. The Justice, on the next date of hearing, a new Chief Justice was brought from Calcutta and he joined on the same day on which the case is listed. These kind of things were happening, and those judges who gave the orders favorable to the government, they were promoted and made Chief Justice taken to the Supreme Court also. These are the kind of things were happening, sir, openly.
The gist of it is that, as Fulkaji is saying, that executive and legislation, the police was not non-existent, witnesses were sort of eliminated. So what can we say when everybody is in hand and glove? You can't expect justice.
Correct.
But we're very unfortunate.
Mr. Sani, I want to ask you this question. I'm sure you too have a story to tell of personal suffering in 1984.
No, Saket ji, I was a student at that time and I was in Punjab, but I'm sorry, it is so tragic that 4 of my first cousins were burnt alive in a paint factory at Paharganj. And I would not have been sitting here if I would have travelled on that Punjab Mail train, because I had a program. I used to do program on AIR and Doordarshan. And 4 cousins, when their bodies were brought to the house, so my Tayaji, my paternal uncle passed. So 5, I've seen in my home, there is no male member left in our family except me, and then I started. So it's very, very painful. I don't share, but each family have such type of history.
This Sani paint, I didn't know that they are Sanis were their cousins of.
It was the same family.
Sani paints. I have mentioned that in my book also when it reached Delhi.
5.
And we have given the evidence before the Nanavati Commission that when they were burnt, their shop was burnt. There was police with the mob. These 4 brothers had pistol. Nobody was prepared to go close to them.
Correct.
The police with the guns was following the mob. We have given evidence before the Nanavati Commission.
They
And nothing
closed
has
the
nothing has been done.
shutters and the paint factory was, I've seen 5 dead bodies, and you can imagine how these ladies raise their children. It happened with each family.
Correct. I can imagine.
Actually, there were so many sad personal stories. There was this very sad and poignant story I came across of a family in Kanpur while writing my book. This gentleman, he was a small trader, his scooter was burnt, his shop was burnt. Those kind of stories, really churn our heart, and actually we feel that we owe it to actually end this religion-based identity politics forever.
Which is still
I'll
not
briefly
ended.
tell you these 2, Sani paints and another incident. Sani paint, they had a revolver. They were, in fact, they had run out with the bullets, and the police came and attacked and burnt them alive. And very close to that, one Mahavir Chakra winner, Mahavir Mohanveer Singh Talwar, Group Captain Mohanveer Singh Talwar, he was given Mahavir Chakra winner. His house was attacked. From inside the house to save his children, he started firing. And the large number of police force, police commissioner, regional police commissioner, DCP, paramilitary forces, 4 trucks, they reach there on the spot, and what they do? They arrest Group Captain Talwar. They do not even arrest a single person from the mob. They arrest him, took the whole family, even the small children, a few months child, to the police station, handed over their whole house and property to the mob. They burnt it, and that child, few months child of that Mahavir Chakra winner, was made to cry the whole night in the police station. Nobody was there even to give him the milk. This is the kind of the things which have happened.
But we must also remember, the mass carnages which took place, Trilokpuri, Kalyanpuri, Sultanpuri, these are all resettlement colonies in and around Delhi.
Correct. East Delhi.
These are now all within urban, major urban locations now.
Correct.
At that point, there was a block 32 of Trilokpuri, the entire street of Sikh families were completely massacred. All happened within just a few minutes with open assistance of the police.
Okay. We've discussed the past enough, and as I promised our viewers and also all the panelists here, what do we do to offer that healing touch from here on? What do we do from here on? So let's quickly get those closing comments on solutions for the future. We'll begin with you, Justice Dhingra, first.
You see, I consider that we should not be considering only one right or second right or third. If we want to give justice to the people, the entire judicial system is required to be reformed and reformed.
Sani sir, solutions for the future.
No, I think as Nilanjan ji had said, that we have to stop this hatred. What is this now? Our social media is rampant. One boy loses a catch and then he is being trolled, and then it's very painful to see. As they said, we all are Indians first. दंगों का वो मनहूस मंजर देखा है, भीड़ के हाथों लहू का खंजर देखा है, खुशहाल लहलहाती इस दिल्ली को रोता बिलखता मैंने बंजर देखा है. I think we need to do introspection and insight that how such genocides can be avoided. What was the nexus of political leaders, police, mass killings? What is the way forward? I think the way forward is to get them justice. We ourselves, I am supervising a sit, we are cooperating a battery of lawyers in Kanpur, in Bokaro, and we have brought some culprits to the book. It is the hatred which perpetuate to such brutalities. And I think in today's time of social media, spreading rumors, playing the religion card, spreading any kind of hatred, I think we need to collectively fight with this dangerous idea of hatred and ensure that love, harmony and peaceful coexistence should prevail in society. And I think such horrors are not repeated which haunt us even today. And it is our duty to provide healing touch. I am personally engaged with Tilak Vihar people, Kanpur people to get them. Their flats have not been regularized yet. Lakhs of rupees interest, their electricity bills. So we are fighting. I have met CM Delhi, LG, I am meeting. So there is a long way to go to provide them, to help them, and healing touch, and hatred has no place in our society.
Okay. I think we have another 5-7 minutes left on the show. Let's begin with you, Mr. Pulka. What do you think can happen from here on? You have offered a solution of having a new commission. What purpose will it serve?
That is as far as 84 is concerned.
Yeah.
Now, if we talk about general, like what Justice Dhingra has said, you see, according to me, civil society needs to be more active. Civil society now, like when this riots took place in Northeast Delhi now, 2 years back. So I collected a group of lawyers in the High Court. We went to that area. So civil society need to be little more proactive. I mean, like in 84, the people like Nalanje, the people like even this Nagar Ekta Manch, they were so active, these professors and Rajni Kothari and journalists, they were so active at that time. And now also I think the civil society need to realize, and we understand that probably the politicians will not improve. Wherever there is a mass violence, civil society need to be more proactive there and take position, try to prevent it. This is what we need to do, and thereafter expose the culprits also, the way the civil society helped in 1984. The people like Justice Tarkunde, the people like Justice Sikri, the people like Soli Sarabji, they all were with us. This Kuldeep Nayyar, Rajni Kothari, they all were with us in exposing this book, Who Are the Guilty? And Naranje was also a part of that. The first book these people brought out. When the people came to know that how this ruling party has planned and killed the Sikhs. So I believe that civil society need to be more proactive in this.
In fact,
Nilanjan?
every morning after the 1st of November, the space in Delhi called Lajpat Bhavan was actually teeming with faces who were just who's who of India's civil society. Now, as far as what has to be done, the roadmap ahead,
Correct.
three things to my mind. One is that there must be convictions of whatever cases. For that, whatever has to be done, a fresh commission, as Mr. Fulka is saying, or as Justice Dhingra said, that there is already sufficient evidence to launch fresh, to initiate fresh cases and ensure convictions. Second is that no other communal violence, the mass violence which has happened anywhere in the country, no one should be allowed to go scot-free. There must be convictions even on that. No political party, this is the third point, no political party should be allowed to create a discourse saying that the riot which happened under my jurisdiction is actually not such a serious riot as the other one which happened in the instance of my adversary's tenure. That has to stop. Mr. Fulka is talking about the civil society needs to be strengthened. We got to take away this pall, or this image which has been created of the civil society being against national interests. Civil society has always come to defend national interests, and it should be allowed a free run.
I think
it
that's
should not be
point.
seen. Even media should not be seen as adversaries of the country. Being critical of any government does not mean that you are critical of the country.
That's a very important
That should
point.
stop.
That's very important, Nilanjan. Also, Sankeshji, we have seen the civil society even in 1984, common people were not killing each other. Neighbors, common people in West Delhi, so many areas. It was like Justice R.S. Sodhi was telling his opponent, Justice Kapoor, saved him. And one Justice Chadda had to go to High Court. So common people had no. These were the criminals, culprits with absence of police. This civil society at large,
this word.
Civil society at large, people were very, friendly to each other.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we should, I think, unanimously with statesmen like Justice Sikri and Fulka ji and Nilanjan, we should say that hatred has no place in our society. We have universal brotherhood, peaceful coexistence, and we heal the 84 riot victims and spread the message of Guru Nanak, whose Gurpurab is coming in next 2 days. Nanak naam chaddi kala tere bhane sarbat da bhala.
Bilkul. Thank you so much to all our experts, panelists right here, for highlighting an issue of great concern. You see, what happens is the tyranny of time, the fact that an incident is so many years old and must be forgotten and one must move on. You can only have a sense of closure when justice is delivered for you to be able to successfully move on and live a new life. Many in the Sikh community are actively, in fact all of them are actively involved in nation building, taking it forward, Sani Sahab. But the point is, it's important to have that closure, and that closure will be brought in when there is justice. Have we delivered justice in this case? Well, as of this moment, you've heard all the panelists here, I don't think that has really happened. News and updates continue right here on NDTV. Thanks for watching this presentation.